everyone for joining us today. My name is Gerard. I'm a customer engineer here at Looker within Google Cloud. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about what we think of when we talk about modern business intelligence. And I guess, when we look at the industry, right, I think things are moving really quickly, right? I don't want to use the word unprecedented again because we've all heard that. But businesses don't have the luxury of being stagnant and doing things as they've always been done, right? Some of them physically can't even do that. Consumer habits are changing, and we've seen e-commerce, for example, growth accelerate by 4 to 6 years in the last 6 months. The workforce has also needed to shift from a workforce model, and many CFOs expect this trend to continue into the future. And we've also seen some established companies with household names file for bankruptcy, enforcing that need to adapt and transform. Also, the lines or the habits of the workforce have shifted, right? As everything and everyone becomes more digitally connected, this hyperconnectivity will enable the rise of a new workforce, right? These digital employees will force us to rethink our traditional management and workforce constructs, and to develop really a new vision for how a successful company operates. And so timely and contextual access to data is critical to that success. A recent study by McKinsey showed that businesses using data wisely outperform their peers. Data can drive better business outcomes by providing information on customer satisfaction, on product performance, on operational efficiency, on workforce analytics, and many, many more things. But most enterprises already recognize the importance of data, right? Like, we've been hearing this for years. This is not a new message. But we've seen, businesses actively spin up BI and analytics initiatives and projects to drive towards that goal of being more and more data-driven. However, the majority of BI and analytics efforts really only benefit a relatively small percentage of the workforce. Some estimates coming in at around 30%. And even then, these tools aren't an integral part of the workflows of most employees, right? It's not like email. It's often not the thing that you check first thing in the morning, right? And so I guess I'd like to sort of consider why this is. Well, they fail because modern deployments of traditional business intelligence tools have kind of failed to respond to the fundamental shift in the way people expect to use and interact with technology, right? Like, new technology has come to market that's how it's transforming how an enterprise approaches BI. But really, all they've done is change the approach and how we arrive at fundamentally the same destination, right? Reports and dashboards. And because of this inherently limits the percentage of the workforce we can really activate, right? Like, what about the workforce that doesn't sit in front of a computer or desktop every day, right? Or what about those users who, are so busy doing their actual jobs, they don't have time to learn a new tool or application. These traditional approaches very often fail to address how we reach employees where they are, both physically and within the applications they're using. And so traditional BI has always sort of focused on putting the technology first, right? These BI platforms, regardless of whether they're sort of traditional or more workbook oriented, were, focusing on the technology first. So if you think about a funnel, it starts with data and lots of different data sources. And the first sort of step is getting all that data into like some sort of perfect format in to answer some specific questions down the line, funneling all that data into an architecture which is, pretty unscalable. And from there, we're going to serve up a singular experience, which we hope that users are going to adopt. And then we're going to focus on enablement, thinking that that's going to be a band-aid that fixes the funnel that we've created. And so it's really no wonder we haven't succeeded in becoming data-driven, right? The user is often an afterthought in this entire process, and they're shoehorned into an experience based on a technological limitation and an experience that was often designed without them at the table. Transformational business intelligence puts a central focus on the user first, on the consumer first, and then it aligns the technology solutions and data to deliver on their diverse range of needs. And so modern BI should amplify your workforce with data, right? Whether that's in a BI tool, as it will continue to be in many cases, or maybe it's in a custom application or via an API or in a mobile phone or in an externally facing product. Your workforce is diverse, and so they need timely and contextual access to data in lots of diverse sort of settings. So let's talk about some of these experiences in a little bit more detail. The original use case here is reporting and dashboards, right? Both traditional systems and legacy systems do this because, when you think about it, dashboards were always historically the way to get people access to data, right? When many of us think of BI, that's the first thing we think of. And dashboards are great. They add value to a number of people across the organization, but they fail to activate the entire workforce, right? Modern BI should deliver diverse experiences for your workforce and customer base, whether that's providing a more dynamic and interactive dashboard or a trusted exploration and self-service environment. So people can get answers to the questions they have there and then on a given day. Or it could even go beyond what we think of as business intelligence, right? By integrating insights into applications or workflows such as Salesforce or Marketo, right? Like the applications that our users use every day. By inserting data into these workflows or delivering custom applications, we can deliver new value streams to partners and customers. And so these examples are really just scratching the surface of what can be unlocked through a modern BI deployment. So some of the challenges with traditional tooling and traditional applications, the first of these is scalability, right? A lot of applications and tools out there today were designed in a fundamentally different era, right? If you think of the technology you're using versus the technology you're using like 10 years ago in your daily life, like it's totally different. It's on its head. And so modern, traditional BI solutions just weren't designed for modern databases. The databases like Google's BigQuery, Snowflake, Azure, Redshift. These databases were designed with analytics as sort of a first-class function. Whereas the existing BI tools, well, they'll very often extract the data out of the database, right? They'll put it into silos or extracts or cubes. And what this leads to is not just poor performance, but high costs and maybe worst of all, trust issues, because we've got all these multiple different versions of the truth, whereas really, we've got this modern cloud-based database which was supposed to do that for us. A lot of traditional tooling simply wasn't designed for the way modern developers work either, right? So for example, I've got some friends who are developers, and they'll use things like object orientation and Git-based workflows, version control. That's the norm. That's the standard for developers today. For some reason in the BI world, that doesn't really seem to have taken off. And it doesn't seem to be used so broadly or widely within business intelligence. And so Developers are kind of forced to use these old-fashioned development methodologies which aren't iterative and which you can't develop things rapidly. As we've talked about before, limited experience, right? This idea of one-size-fits-all analytics just leaves behind many of our customers who, aren't the kind of people who are going to, open a report every single day. When every output is a report or a dashboard, we're just not looking far enough as to what we can really achieve with data. And finally, traditional applications, they kind of enforce the idea of lock-in, right? They're very often designed to be difficult to migrate away from. They'll use things like sort of proprietary data manipulation languages when really, things like SQL are getting ever more powerful in the modern database landscape. So you need a platform that empowers the data team and empowers developers to deliver efficiently on this strategy. Diverse experiences, like we've been talking about, doesn't mean more tools, and it does not mean more development hours. What it does mean is it means treating analytics like an internal product. If there are any analysts on today's call, this means stop acting like analysts and start acting like developers, right? It's a fundamental shift in how we approach the problem of data analytics. Because, features of a modern BI platform will include leveraging your cloud investment, using a database, your own database architecture, the basics like, something web-based applications. And then, of course, having an extensible framework in which your developers can actually build more bespoke and custom experiences around your users. And so this new approach allows you to unlock the value of data and to truly utilize it as an asset to generate new value streams rather than just funneling it into an application that you hope people are going to use. And some examples of customers that are doing this right here are Stripe, right? So for example, they've got a sales team, and the sales reps are able to actually open an application that they live in, right? Salesforce, and actually get data and reports around other non-Salesforce related data, right from the data platform, but right in the context of where they work. Another example here, Future Play, have built a custom bid bot, right? So to automatically track different metrics and to optimize ad spend. And then lastly, Global Payments, from an external perspective, have unlocked new value chains by building a merchant portal where their customers can actually log in and get insight. So, in terms of how Looker fits into this, given some of the challenges that we've got, right, where we've got IT budget being used on legacy systems, we've got an organizational strategic need to move into the cloud increasingly, and we've got a workforce that have never demanded more from data, right, where expectations have never been higher. How can Looker help with this? So let's introduce Looker and what it can do specifically for enterprises using some of these features. Looker's platform offers a unified surface to the truest, most up-to-date version of your company's data. And with this unified view into the business, you can choose or design data experiences that assure people and systems and applications get data delivered to them in a way that makes the most sense for their needs. Now, data experiences can represent any number of ways companies drive value from data, right? That could be reducing costs and mitigating risk, or adding value by increasing revenues or optimizing spend, or external economic value, as we've mentioned, right? By monetizing data and generating new revenue streams. And so these experiences are not just limited to internal users, they're equally valid for external customers and partners as well. So just a couple examples. This is a Fortune 5 retailer who were in a situation where they had a global data lake, right? Lots of different data sources being funneled into one sort of version of the truth. They needed a single layer to go along that so that they could get data into a multitude of different use cases. So in this case, we're looking at some self-service analytics on the data lake to support, use cases across e-commerce, specifically marketing, retail, and supply chain. This resulted in the displacement of more legacy tools like Cognos and OBIEE and onto a much more rapidly deployed platform. Secondly, a wholesaler who had an application which was kind of showing its age, right? It was a partner portal, allowing their suppliers to log in and get some insight. But because of the technology that it was built on, making any kind of change to this portal cost a lot, and it took a lot of time. Even to change a header, cost like sort of $500,000, right? So it was a lot, and so by building the analytical component of this application on Looker, it allowed their development team to realize value significantly quicker, and so now they've got over 100,000 external active users. Thirdly, this is a Fortune 50 media company who had a massive data set in a cloud-based database. And the interesting point on this is the efficiency of the analysts, right? This idea about our consumers having much higher expectations than they used to can often translate into some very stressed out data analysts, right? Data analysts who are just trying to keep up with the deluge of requests and questions they're trying to answer. But what Looker represented for this customer was a 70% increase in efficiency for their analysts, who are now able to serve thousands of product stakeholders, which is kind of cool. And just a couple more to finish. I'm going to just choose one of these. Auto Trader here in the UK. This is a business that has fundamentally transformed how they operate, right? This is a print publication that has gone fully digital. And as a result, like their only physical asset is the data they're collecting. And they've got massive amounts of data, but in a matter of weeks, Ed Kent here, in a matter of weeks, we were able to go from nothing to something that was usable by our sales squad. So they were able to unlock the value of the data in their databases and make it instantly usable and instantly valuable for their sales teams.